If you're planning a trip to Southern California, you may be trying to decide if you want to go to Disneyland or Legoland, and you want to see how they measure up against each other. Or maybe you're planning on doing both, and you're trying to figure out how many days to spend at each park. Well, keep watching and hopefully I can help you sort all of that out. So let's get started.
It is good to see you. Good.
Starting off with tickets, how does Disneyland and Legoland compare with cost and value when it comes to buying tickets? Well, I'm going to say it's a bit of a draw. I know many of you may be saying, what are you talking about? Legoland is way cheaper, but hear me out on this. First off, ticket prices for both parks vary a lot. Both parks have variable pricing structures, meaning the more busy the day is projected to be, the more expensive a ticket for that day will be. Some of the most popular times and therefore more expensive times to visit are mid-March to early April for spring break for both Legoland and Disneyland. Then for both parks you have the height of summer, so late June to early August. Fall break time around the second week in October is another time people flock to these parks, especially Disneyland, thanks to all of its Halloween events going on. The holidays is also hugely popular at Disneyland, and although Legoland does do fun festive things for the holidays, it's not quite as popular as Disneyland during this time. And since both Legoland and Disneyland have multiple parks, of course Disneyland is at a larger scale with Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure, where Legoland has the option of adding a visit to their aquarium as well as the water park when it's in season, mostly in the summer, and then with blackout dates in the spring and fall. As a side note, Legoland's water park is inside Legoland, so you also need a Legoland ticket to enter the water park. The water park will also have shorter hours than Legoland, so just keep that in mind. That being said, both places have the option of buying hopper passes that grant you access to multiple parks in one day. So now let's get into the pricing. Legoland charges the same prices for anyone 2 years old and up. For a one-day ticket just for Legoland, it can cost you anywhere from $79 to $119 per person per day. Legoland typically opens at 10 and closes anywhere from 5 to 8 p.m. depending on the time of year, which gives you anywhere from 7 to 10 hours to get everything in that you want on a single day trip. A park hopper pass will run you around $119 per person, so let's break this down now. This means for a family of 4 with 2 adults, a 2.5-year-old, and a 9-year-old will spend anywhere between $316 to $500 for one day at Legoland. And of course the prices can go up from there if you choose to add on things like the Ride and Reserve program or any of those other extra cost privileges they sneak in there. Now for Disneyland Resort, there's a lot of options, but let's start with one park for one day, which can run you anywhere between $119 all the way up until $184 per adult. Children between the ages of 3 and 9 years old will cost slightly less, between $112 and $183, depending on the day, of course, and children under the age of 3 are free. Disneyland usually opens at 8 a.m. and closes between 9 p.m. and midnight most nights, giving you anywhere from 13 to 16 hours to do whatever you want to do that day. For park hoppers, one-day passes can get steep at $200 to $259 for just one day, and I don't suggest doing a park hopper if you're only doing one day at Disneyland. It's just too much to get in. If you can make it work, there's 2 passes that I use the most that hold their value the best in my opinion, and that's the 3-day hopper, which will run you around $455 per adult, $430 for a child if you buy your tickets from a discount travel website like Getaway Today. Getaway Today also does a 5th day free deal that's awesome, where you can do 5-day park pass, 1 park per day for $445 per adult and $430 per child. Yes, you heard me right, for around $150 more than a single-day hopper pass, and cheaper than a 3-day park hopper pass, you could do 5 days at the parks, as long as you're cool with focusing on one park each day. Clearly, there's a lot to play around with when pricing out tickets. My tips for saving money on buying tickets for either park are: first, buy online instead of at the gate on the day of, especially at Legoland. Second, buy from dependable sellers. I'm talking real companies with websites and reviews. Don't get bamboozled by individuals selling tickets on sites like Craigslist. Also, shop around on those sites. Different websites will offer different deals throughout the year, so check out all the deals before you commit to such a big purchase. And finally, be flexible with your dates. If you have some wiggle room on what dates you can go, you can really save big time. Finding those pockets of time when parks and hotels lower prices to entice people to come can really help you save. Now the next topic is parking, and there is a clear winner in my opinion on this one, and that is... That's right, Legoland. Now, while the cost is about the same from Legoland to Disneyland, Legoland is about $34 for all-day regular parking, and Disneyland sits around $35 for regular parking. The biggest thing is convenience to the park. You really can't beat how close the parking is to the entrance gate when you're going to Legoland. It's right there. And it just takes you mere moments to walk into the park from your car, even if you're in one of the further parking spots. In comparison, you have Disneyland, which has multiple parking lots that are enormous. I always tell people to plan on adding an extra 30 minutes at the beginning and at the end of your day for parking, between getting into the parking lot, parking, walking all the way across whatever parking lot you parked at, going down maybe some escalators or elevators, and then you have the massive security lines and the trams and the shuttles, all making it take a lot longer than you thought to get into the park. And for these reasons, I give Legoland a leg up on Disneyland when it comes to parking. Let's move on to the fun stuff, like the rides. It may come as no surprise that Disneyland wins out in this category. Not only does it have more rides, with Disneyland having around 36 rides and Disney California Adventure having around 19, although Legoland still holds its own with around 26 rides, and those rides are plenty fun and cute as well. Where it starts losing points is on how tricky it can be to find rides for the entire family to ride. Since many rides require riders to be at least 40 inches, which excludes our youngest, some rides have a maximum height requirement, which excludes us and sometimes even our oldest child. So we found ourselves splitting up a lot of the day, with Dad taking one kid on one ride and me taking the other on another ride, which is not completely ideal for family vacation. My other beef is with the reserve and ride system. Similar to Disneyland's Genie Plus, Legoland also has a line skipping option, at an extra cost of course. I'm not going to get into why I'm not a huge fan of either of these systems, but Legoland is not set up for it. With low ride capacities and smaller queue space, on a busy day you can find yourself waiting in line for 65 minutes to 135 minutes for even the more small and simple rides. And what all this means is, on a busy day at Legoland, you will see wait times longer than many of the most popular rides at Disneyland. We waited 90 minutes for the newest ride, the Coastersaurus. I don't remember the last time I waited 90 minutes for a ride at Disneyland. I really don't. And here's the proof of a single side-by-side on busy spring break day at the same time. On the same day, this is what the wait times looked like at Legoland versus Disneyland Resort. And I know a lot of this has to do with Legoland being smaller than Disneyland as well, so there's just not as many places for people to go. But man, does that reserve and ride system really slow things down. All that being said, we still like the rides at Legoland. They're fun and cute. My oldest loved the Unikitty's Disco Drop. and the Technic coaster, Coastersaurus, and the driving school is so cute to watch those kiddos drive around. She loved having the freedom of choosing where she wanted to drive and feeling like a grown-up. My youngest had fun on all the rides that she rode, although her face would say otherwise. She also really loved the younger driver's school, even though she'd never really figured out the concept. I'll let you observe for yourself. But at the end of the day, you just can't compete with the many classic rides Disneyland has, especially rides that the entire family can go on. And if you want to know more about the rides at Disneyland, I have plenty of videos for you, including this one that I have made recently that digs a little bit deeper into the rides in both parks at Disneyland. Of course, we also have to talk about food, with the clear winner being Disneyland, but let me explain why. It's important to note that both parks allow you to bring in outside food, like snacks and packable meals that can fit in your backpack or a small soft body cooler. No coolers on wheels with ice or glass bottles of any kind are allowed in either park, and both parks do a pretty good job with providing allergy info on their apps. But overall, Disneyland has way more food options than Legoland. But what's really surprising is the pricing. Everyone talks about Disneyland's food being pricey, but Legoland's food is just as expensive and even more expensive in many cases when you compare similar items. I'll show you what I mean. What really surprised me was how much more money the kids' meals at Legoland cost compared to Disneyland, with an average price point of $12 to $13 at Legoland for a kids' meal that comes with the main entree, a drink, and some kind of side item. At Disneyland, you get basically the same thing in their kids' meals, but the price point sits somewhere between $5.50 for the toddler meals and goes up to $8.50 depending on what you're getting. Now, don't get me wrong, food at Disneyland can get more pricey if you're doing nicer sit-down restaurants or more elaborate seasonal foods. My point is, Disneyland has a wide range of food options, from the quicker grab-and-go options all the way to finer dining. They also have a very convenient mobile order system, not to mention the endless options for themed snacks that they have. Tons of sweet treats and cold treats. You can even enjoy drinks at a cantina in a galaxy far, far away. And if you want more details on food at Disneyland, my channel has you covered. Now I'm making a new guide for 2024, which should be posted soon, so subscribe to my channel to stay up to date. Let's talk free play space. This is very important if you're going to have little ones with you. The winner for this category is Legoland. When you're spending all day at a theme park, it can be kind of hard on those little ones when they're sitting in the stroller all day or just standing in long lines and they feel like they don't really get to get out and move around and be themselves. So it's very important to have these spaces where they can safely play and explore. And Legoland does an amazing job of providing these types of spaces everywhere throughout the entire park. They have a bunch of walk-through and interactive attractions like the Lego factory tour where you get to see how Legos are made and you even get a Lego fresh off the line. There's a playground basically in every land. Some of the rides even have play spaces within the queue. Not to mention all of the fun city displays of all the replicas of the cities. We had so much fun picking out all the cities and buildings that we recognized. Not to mention we even spotted some little baby ducks in one of the cities. They have Lego building stations everywhere. We especially liked this boat building one where you get to build your own boat and then test it out on the little rivers. That one was so fun. And you don't even need to go to the water park to get cooled off because they have plenty of splash pads and water rides throughout the park. Not to mention all of the fun Lego pieces that the kids can play on and take pictures with. Disneyland has free play spaces as well, but they're a little bit more concentrated in certain areas, Toontown being one of the best places for free play. This area is the most interactive and kid-friendly place in all of the parks. Aside from it being a fun and kid-friendly land, it also has specific parks and areas for kids to climb and go down slides and play with things. It's a massive hit with my girls. They would probably spend hours playing here if I let them. You also have Tom Sawyer's Island right in the middle of the rivers of America where you have to take a log raft over. This area you do need to really keep an eye on those kiddos because there's a lot of nooks and crannies they can get lost in. But this is a really big, really fun free space to explore. At Disney California Adventure Park, you have the animation studios that has all kinds of fun things that the kids can get out and explore. From learning about old animation techniques, to chatting it up with Crush at Turtle Talk with Crush. Or you can even sit down and learn how to draw an official Disney character.
We're in the AC, so that's something to be happy about. Welcome to the Animation Academy. My name's Josh. I'm a Disney artist here. I'm going to be teaching you how to draw Baymax from Big Hero 6. Who likes Big Hero 6 out there? Anybody? Fantastic.
For your little ones, they'll really enjoy the Disney Junior Dance Party. It's a good, safe space that they close all the doors and the kids can just get down and dance with all of their favorite Disney Junior characters. Also in DCA, you have the Redwood Creek Trail, which is not only great for kids, but it's also awesome for adults when you're starting to feel overstimulated and you kind of need to get away from it all. It's very naturey and serene in there, but the kids love running around and playing on everything they have out there. If we're talking entertainment here, I've got to be super duper honest and give this win to Disneyland. Although Legoland does have some entertainment, mostly the street style type of entertainment where they're singing and dancing in the middle of the street and everyone's just standing around them. They do have this stage show called Go Extreme, which my oldest really liked because she's super into skateboarding and stuff right now, so she loved it. All of their forms of entertainment were fun, but they just don't hold a candle to any of Disneyland's massive productions. Like their lofty and imaginative parades, the Magic Happens parade is one of my favorites, and I can't wait to see what the Pixar Fest parade looks like. And on top of all of the small little performances they have throughout the day, they have the big fireworks show at the end of the night, as well as Fantasmic when that comes back in May, not to mention World of Color. World of Color is held every night over in DCA, and it's a show like you've never seen before. It puts the biggest smile on my face, and it even makes me cry. And all of these entertainment options are included in your ticket price, so anyone who's in the park gets to enjoy these fabulous shows. And perhaps it's not very fair to make these comparisons between these two unique parks, but I'm hoping the information I gave you today will give you some good insight into planning your next Southern California trip. And if it did, don't forget to give me a like, all that good stuff. It really helps me out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.